Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Maria Vang Nielsen, founder and CEO of MVN Global. How are you doing, Maria?
I'm doing amazing. How are you, Stefan?
I'm very well, thank you. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the beginning and what sparked your journey and what made you start your own business.
Absolutely. So that's a few years now back. I'm 17 years old. I've always had the sales gene in me just from since I was a little girl. And I started my first company selling organic lingerie in Denmark, where I'm from. And after a few years, I sold that company. And then I entered into a partnership with two founders in their 50s, and they had a long track record within retail, but wasn't the strongest within sales. And I came in with a strong. I was maybe 20 years old at the point, but I had been working in sales since I was 13 years old, and it was just in my core and my DNA. So together with the two founders, we opened up a concept store on the high street of Copenhagen, which I ran for 5 years before I sold my shares and moved to the UK. And my time there just gave me everything I needed for the start of my career. We ended up having production in 5 different countries, and I made partnerships with more than 20 different partners for the shop, and it grew 300% the first 12 months. So that was really just the start of it for me. But then starting up in my 20s and thinking, everybody else is taking the corporate ladder, they're getting out and getting corporate jobs. And I went, I have to do that. It isn't a real career to be a founder. It isn't a real thing to just do businesses like that and, having uncertainty in your income flow. So I went out in London and I got a sales job and I hated it. It was awful, and I ended up quitting after a few months. And then I started up as a consultant doing sales outreach for companies, and I couldn't get the flow and the income right of stability with my finances, so I ended up taking another job, and I continued that for a couple of years in my mid-20s. And then in the end, I needed to find acceptance with the fact that I am a founder. It is a real business. It is the way to make money. Actually, the most money for me that I'll probably ever make in my career. And I spent more time with founders. I went into business communities, both in London, in membership clubs, in the US. I traveled. I broadened my network massively, and I pushed myself deeply to just think wider, to take more risks over and over again. Just even today, I spoke to Mask, the CEO of Mask, Søren Litt. I reached out to him. I took a risk on LinkedIn, and he responded within an hour. What are the odds for that? One of the world's biggest companies, that's just the mindset and the mentality that I had to get into, and where I am today. So the travel has been very full of rocks and not just easy peasy, but I figured out that the traditional corporate ladder just was painful. It extremely painful to having to be in that box, and this is your set of role, this is how you need to deliver. And my brain just works in a million other ways I was used to from the age of 22 years old, having a store on the high street, dealing with investors, with landlords that want to raise prices constantly, with production in Lithuania, in Slovenia, and in Italy. And it was way too little for my head to just be in this box. So I think that's the shortest version I can explain of my journey so far.
Wow, that's some journey. And to have such success at a young age. And then would you say it was like societal pressures that made you feel like you need to have a corporate job and get into that type of thing?
100%.
Yeah, and
100%.
then, but the proof was in the pudding from a young age, really, that you are a
Yeah.
founder. There, that is the job for you,
Yeah.
100%. And I speak to a lot of founders that say that, that say not in the same journey of you had. Normally, they're in a corporate job first, and then they feel sort of shackled, and then that what makes
Yeah.
them come out. But yeah, no, it rings true. Same with you. So yeah, fantastic journey.
Yeah, and I think, we should be more, at some point in my career, I want to speak to the younger audience, because when you are young and you're starting out in your career, you're looking around and you are mirroring yourself in your peers, in your friends, and what educational, how do you say, teachers and coaches are telling you what to do, right? You have to get a job, you have to get background experience before you can make more money. Actually, you don't. You just have to get out there, take some chances, make some risk, and surround yourself with the right people. That has been the main driver for me to get where I am.
No, definitely. I think no risk, no reward. And the safest bet isn't always actually that safe, because you could be in that type of world for 20 years, and then before you think this isn't actually for me. So I definitely agree with you, and I feel like people should take more risks and follow their dream, really, or even if it's not their dream, follow their heart, in the sense of, it's not for everyone, of course, but if you don't try, you don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I can't speak for everybody. Some people do like, the safety of things, but I feel like there's a lot of people, free-spirited people, that don't want to be contained in a box and want to spread their wings, and they're just, maybe sometimes the risk of it puts them off, and especially with, like you said, then peers and other things like that, telling us, that, oh, well, this is risky. Even family, do you know what I'm saying? Even family,
Yeah.
not so
Oh,
you, but like,
massively your
do you know what I'm
family.
saying? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
massively.
Yeah,
It
no,
took, I
definitely.
think, my family, it took them more than 5 years before. It's only now that I've gone up in my 30s that they have accepted that's the way that I'm living, and I'm living with a financial uncertainty. You have months where you're just doing great, and then you have other months where you're like, how's this looking? I just lost to a client. Like, how am I gonna get them in?
Yeah,
And somehow, new clients are coming in, and that's just the cycle, of being a founder in most cases. So I'm not gonna romanticize it and saying, oh, just do it, you're gonna make so much more money. The reality for me is that it's not more than 2 years ago before I properly made what my friends were making in their corporate jobs, but their
yeah.
high level corporate jobs as well. But it takes time, but I'm confident that it's just only going one way from here, because you're just learning so much by doing yourself.
Yeah, and as well, like, there's no ceiling. You know what I'm saying? There's no ceiling when you're doing so. Yeah, it is hard work. It's definitely not easy, but I feel like, you get up quicker in the court in a normal job, but there is a ceiling, a very apparent ceiling. And with, owning your own business, I feel like, yeah, it's hard work, of course, and it's going to take time, of course. But if you're willing to go through all of that, the benefits are exponential.
Sure, for sure. And I think you also, Stephanie, need to be in love with the process, not just thinking about, okay, when am I gonna exit the company at, 10 million pounds, but more think about who am I becoming on this journey. I think I heard that from, what is he called, Rob Proctor. And it's just, you really have to get into that mindset, because otherwise it's too hard getting up every day and just keep struggling and struggling. But at some way you're getting to just loving that it's hard, but you're also becoming so resistant towards the negativity things, like what I used to be thrown back by years ago. Today I'm just whatever, next.
Yeah, well, you either love your grind or you end up loving someone else's grind if you're working for them. So I echo one of my other guests that I had, Jason Wood. He showed me a portrait that he's got in his office, and it said, "Love your grind." He goes, "I have to love what I'm doing every single day,
Yeah.
because that's what drives me to new heights and new
Um,
things." So yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So, Maria, you're a founder and a growth strategist. What does your role actually look like today when you're helping SMEs build global sales strategies?
Yes, so I run it very old school. So today I think we're going to be talking more about that, but the sales industry, marketing, content creation has been taken over by AI, and it's growing rapidly fast. But I do it, I wouldn't say it in a complete different way. I'm still using the elements of that, but my approach is very human and very connected. So the way that I'm working is that we're helping companies grow their revenue. That's the main thing, and that can look in different ways. That depends if they have a sales team. Then we go in and I advise the sales team. I train the sales teams to. You would be surprised how many sales teams that doesn't have the foundation of making sales right. That means the foundation of reaching out to leads, How do you reach out to leads? How do you chase them? Most salespeople today are still just writing, hey, I'm just following up with you. That's a no. We never chase leads. We never follow up with them in that way. We always add values and forget what other people are saying. Oh, bring them an article about something relevant in their industry. Forget it. You don't have time for that. We need to reach so many leads every single day. So you need to have a quite strategic approach that's very human. You need to sit back and think, okay, what would make me respond to a post? So today, for example, I only made 10 outreach messages, and the way that I was working in my role today was that I went into their LinkedIn profile, their company pages, the CEO, I contacted them, and I made a little video with my face in a corner, told them who I am, what I found interesting about their company. It took me 1 minute, and sent them that video to say hey. And that's how, the CEO of Maersk, came back to me today. So I'm constantly using different approaches, but my role is outreach. I'm training teams on how to do outreach. How do we contact companies and ensuring we get the biggest response rate that we can? How do we have sales meetings in a way where we're really, pushing on the pain point and not just having a chit chat about our features of the products? Nobody care about that. What's the transformation that we can create with your service and your company? And also, how are we closing the deal? How are we pushing in a way that feels human and just makes them feel like the more you're waiting, the slower the results are gonna come. So it's not like, oh, I need to get the deal in. No, it's I want to create results for you. I see this opportunity. I have this person in my network. So constantly just being surrounded with them. Does it make sense? Everything so that's my day-to-day role.
Yeah, nice. So you're continually asking questions of them on how you can get better results, basically, is in a roundup nutshell of it. And it sounds like you do the video outreach. I think is fantastic. I really do. I think that works because it makes you stand out instantly, and it shows that you've
Yeah.
taken the time to to
Yeah.
to, to actually video yourself, which a lot of people find a little bit scary. I mean, even like voice notes, some people don't like doing them. It's so much easier just to write a message, of course, but then that you're not standing out. So, definitely fantastic.
And I think the key here to anyone watching this and thinking, oh, I would love to do a voice note or video, but it's way too over my boundaries. Just do it. It does not have to be perfect. In the video to the CEO of Maersk, I literally laughed. I said, I do not expect you to respond on this. I know how high level you are. And he was the first one responding. So just be human. Don't think about you're saying the perfect thing. Just get it out there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's probably will feel uncomfortable at the start, but everything feels
100%.
uncomfortable. Everything feels uncomfortable at the start, and then once you've done it a few times, it's like, it feels
Yeah.
more comfortable. Do you know what I mean? And you will get better at it. And I feel people are definitely more forgiving when they see you making the effort of doing a voice note, doing a video, because
Yeah.
they're like, oh,
100%.
okay. Do you know what I mean? We are all human, so
Yeah.
100%. Maria, you've worked with brands at the top of their game. What major shifts are you seeing in B2B sales right now, whether in how deals are won, how partnerships form, or how sales teams operate?
What changes I'm seeing?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yep, yep.
The changes I'm seeing at the moment is obviously AI related. So we're seeing a lot of companies popping up with promises about, we'll deliver a lot of leads to you that's automated, which is great. I am not against this at all, but it's a different kind of leads. They are not necessarily as hot as the one you're doing personal connections to, and when you're going into your meetings, you don't already know their pain points. So that's an obvious disadvantage once you're coming in. I have also seen that there is a new workload related to doing AI automation that we are just not being told about, but the amount of content and different campaigns that we need to make to figuring out what's working, it's going a little bit slower than when we're sitting with it and we're getting the actual responses. One of the reasons why I'm not only doing LinkedIn outreach or email outreach, and we are in very, very big sense doing cold calling, is because you immediately can get the lead on the phone. In one day, I can have talked to 10 different leads and I can figure out why they're not buying, why the timing isn't right, or what's product-wise, competition-wise, which would take me weeks or a month to do via email marketing, because you send so much out and you don't get so much back. So I think we are at a time in the sales world where things are developing. I think that's very positive, but we need to learn how to use it better, because right now a lot of automation becomes spam, and it's not well considered or well done, and it's frustrating to every single day being chased by AI robots. That's at least my personal take on it.
Definitely, and I feel like there's a layer of sophistication that can come as opposed to like what you just said then. People don't want to be chased by AI robots, that it's not very personal, things like that. But there are workflows that we can put in to, so from the initial email, when we get an email back, for example, that email will go through, a workflow agent, and then they will see their LinkedIn and then read off their LinkedIn and then speak to them. So I feel like there is people are doing surface level, do you know what I'm saying? But there is actually, if we can just be a little bit more sophisticated with it, a bit more
Yes.
creative with it, then we can actually get so much higher results. Because if, you know what I'm saying, like if we can get that down to, more personal, then I feel like you're going to get so much better results, as you said. So yeah.
For sure, that's just one part of it. That's the outreach part. Then we have the CRM part. So I know HubSpot is already doing that. I'm using HubSpot. But the integration between all our outreach channels, LinkedIn, you can actually integrate that to HubSpot. It comes at a higher fee. So if you're a startup or a low level startup and you don't have that much cash, I know that's quite a lot because it's additionally £100 a month, I think, just to have the LinkedIn feature. But it's just to say that it can be done. You can integrate both your email, your LinkedIn profile, and probably also your social media channels. But that is important that we have somewhere where we can gather all these informations. And that's happening right now, and I'm seeing more of that. Thank God.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like integration, sorry, is when you go from sort of mid-level and then it supersedes it, you know what I'm saying? It takes it right to the next level, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, Even with, HubSpot, great CRM, but there's also like, and like I said, they're doing the integration. There's also AI powered CRMs, AI Aquacity and things like
Yes.
that really use, the way I see AI going is using it as a nervous system, so it runs throughout your whole company, and then it signals you when you need to do this, when you need to do that, this is what's coming up, and things like that.
That's something I would invest in,
Yeah.
100%. Because right now there's still so many different systems we're using, and I would love it to be more integrated. Because often when I see these new features, new softwares, I just have enough in my head that I can't handle another software I need to deal
Hmm.
with and figure out how to work. I still use Canva for visual graphics and stuff. It can do basic things, but I'm sure there are a lot better softwares out there for what I need, but I just can't comprehend to even get started with another software. So I think that's the struggle as well. If they could integrate more things into, yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like a lot of founders are going through similar feelings of overwhelm with all these different tools. Whereas if you can get it all into one workspace, into one dashboard, especially, and have them all firing off the same cylinder, talking to each other or communicating with each other, and have it like
Yes.
that, I feel like that's where the future, where the real value of AI is going to unlock.
Exactly, just with the video I'm creating now, right, for lead generation, with the LinkedIn I'm using, then I'm also sending them an email. I also do a phone call, to
Mm,
just follow up with them. I use sometimes WhatsApp as well. Everything I can do that my brain goes, okay, this is the best way to communicate with the lead, I'll do. I haven't found any affordable software that can handle all those informations, both videos and all these platforms, especially WhatsApp as well. So yeah, a new great
yeah,
startup idea. Maybe we're waiting
yeah,
for.
definitely, definitely. Okay, Maria, what's working well for MVN right now, and where do you still feel a slight drag?
What's working for us? Consecutive outreach every single day. No exceptions, no excuses, just get on with it, even when we don't want to, every single day, forcing ourselves to reach the bare minimum we have. So I have a contact point on about 50 every single day, and that's just something that I'm really strict upon, and that's part of one of my process, both for me and for the employees I have, because if we slack off one day or two or a week or 2 weeks, that's going to have massive impact, and there's always going to come outside things that we need to do constantly and we need to deal with. That's the one thing that we cannot put aside. So it's just something that I'm extremely strict about.
Definitely. And where do you see, where is there any parts of the business where you're like, I can't wait to get this automated, I can't wait to speed this up at all?
Yeah. You had a question as well, I noticed, around team and how I run my team and everything. I would love for recruitment to somehow be easier, be better, catching the right candidates, the time I spend on training people, then to figure out they're not the right match. I will say that's probably the area that I'm looking to master better, to figuring out how we are getting more of the right people in our team as well that are true go-getters, because um, a lot of salespeople sit at conversation and they can do everything right, and then we come down to the core basis of actually rolling up your sleeves and having to do the 50 outreach a day or do the 60 phone calls or whatever you need to do. It is really, really hard work to do it, just pitching and pitching and pitching, but it gotta be done. So somehow, kind of, yeah, softwares or no software, I want to be a little bit more better at the recruiting process to find the right candidate from the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like if you could create a system with SOPs and all these questions in one place, it would speed up and take the load off you doing so much with each person, because it's a lot of investment, isn't it? Not monetary, but time and things like that
Time
into
wise,
each
that's the
one.
worst.
Yeah,
Yeah, money, that's one thing, but time wise, that's the worst thing for me, because the time spent on training them is time wasted on growing their company. But I will say right now, I have found a brilliant employee. I'm so happy with her, and she has the right background. But I've also worked with her through one of my clients in the company she used to be in. Then she quit, and she went, "Hey, if you ever need me for some help," and I went, "You know what, I do actually," and it was just the perfect match. So I think to get in a situation like that is going to be probably a little bit challenging to use as a strategy, but that's just working perfect.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's nothing better when you get someone that really gets your business and
Oh,
understands what's needed. It's just like a weight lifted off your shoulders almost.
yes, a go-getter that just picks up the phone and just do the task, that doesn't need to be put into work constantly, that just gets it.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, definitely fantastic. I'm very happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Just going to zoom in now a little bit on your pipeline and delivery and things like that. So walk me through your client acquisition process from contact to when you sign them onto you.
Yes, so the way that I acquire my clients is the exact same way actually that I acquire clients for my clients.
Mm.
So I use the same approach. I have had a lot of success for LinkedIn by reaching out to companies that way and simply just asking into their businesses, how they're doing, if they feel they're on target, if what their revenue goals are, what they're excited about, what's coming up for them, just engaging in conversations about what's going on in their business from a revenue perspective. And then I suggest to have a meeting with them, and then we have a chat from there, and I look at ways that I potentially can help them. So that's one way I do it. I've also had great success with acquiring clients through going to personal networking events. Um, that's one of them. Another way is we're acquiring clients through referral strategies. That means the way that we're doing it is simply by asking our networks for introductions. I have an introduction line about what I do, how I work, what I've delivered, what type of big name clients I've worked with, and the results I've created. And so I think the acquisitions of clients has I know a lot of companies, they specialize in one software, one way of acquiring clients, but the way that I work, because I'm a consultant, I look at what's best for the company. So I don't look at saying, hey, I'm just a LinkedIn specialist. No, I look at different ways that we can do these things and what I believe will be most successful. But I do B2B sales is definitely my specializing area of sales. So, but the success, I believe, for most companies is using a combination of all these different channels. If you're only sticking to one, it's like putting your pension in one bucket and just hoping in one share,
Yeah,
that you're just hoping that share is going to go up because it used to be at that time. But what if it doesn't? What if you lose all your money? You have to split it out, because leads today are coming from everywhere. They're coming from WhatsApp groups we're in. They're coming from LinkedIn posts, somebody's looking for someone. They're coming from your friend sitting at a dinner table, a restaurant, saying, oh, I have a friend that's looking for X, Y, and Z, or they're coming from everywhere. So I think that's the way at least I'm acquiring clients and doing
Yeah.
the same for my clients too.
So then once they book the call with you, how do you make sure, or what are your show up levels like? Because obviously I speak to some founders and they're like it's 50%, some are like 75%, things like that, which obviously is normal. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely 100% show up rate every
Wow.
single time.
I feel,
Yeah.
do you feel like that's from your personal outreach as opposed to just
Oh
automated
yes,
outreach?
yes.
So they're more invested in you, I would say.
Yes, 100%. And that is because I'm using very personalized outreach methods. I don't do automation yet. And the reason why I don't do automation yet is because I haven't seen a software, and I keep having meetings with people that contact me with their automation tools to see if something on the market has come up that I feel is authentic enough. And it hasn't. And it looks like more work for me to keep creating campaigns, keep testing different messages. And for me, it's like if it cannot still figure out to read through a LinkedIn profile and not just mention the sentence and what they're doing, it's too far away from a human connection. It's so easy. It takes me 2 minutes as a human being to go down and see what they're posted the last month. It takes me a couple of minutes to write a personalized message. I can only send 10 to 20 messages a day and get the same results as I would by sending out 1,000 emails on a weekly basis. So I guess that's why I have a 100% show up rate.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel
Yeah.
like yeah, you're in the future, do you know what I'm saying? There will be tools that can
Yes.
read the right through. I think it's going to be more in a workflow point of thing, do you know what I'm saying? Like it's going to actually
Yes.
take the message, send it through to the LLM, and then come back with
Oh
it.
yes.
I feel like I built a workflow for my fiance. My fiance is a social media manager for home companies and things like that, and I built her GBT, sorry, a personal GBT, custom GBT, that's what they're called, custom GBT for all of our, whether all of the brands she works with, the guidelines, how they speak, this, that, and the
Yes.
fourth.
Smart.
And we did a content scheduling workflow the other day, not too long ago, that it sends, she drops the image in with the title of what the image is, that gets sent to the assistant. The assistant uses the 32 pages of knowledge that it's got into its sort of brain, if you will, and then you views the image and the title and then manages to give out a caption and then send it straight to her buffer account. And I feel like these are the workflows that they're a little bit, they take a little bit longer to do, but I feel like they're the ones you're going to get the best
100%.
results out of.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I completely agree.
Perfect. So can you walk me through how you take client from initial brief through to campaign handoff?
Yes, I can. So it varies depending on the work for the individual client. So first of all, we sit down and figure out what's the problem. Obviously, they want to make more revenue. How do we do that? Then we make a plan for that, and then I execute the plan. One of my core ways of working is we spend a little bit of time on the plan, the actual strategy, a couple of weeks, and then we go straight into testing, because if we spend too much time on laying the perfect long strategy and we're figuring out that's not working, the best results we're going to get is by getting on the phone with leads and learning what's working. So typically the flow of how I'm working with the clients from the first call to executing is we start by having the plan in place. Then we always need to make marketing material. It doesn't matter what company it is. I've never had a company that had a strong enough flyer or catalog of their services where they're remembering to put in testimonials and business cases, return of investment. It does not matter what type of company you're having. If it's a company that's selling in learning and development, or if it's health and well-being, you can always measure it in numbers. You can always measure the impact, the effect from the investment to what they're seeing in results. You need to put that into the business case for them and not just go, this is what we're selling. So we work on that very first, and then stage 2 is going out and A/B testing different forms of pitches. So we have made templates for them, both outreach templates we're using for LinkedIn, for email that looks a little bit different, and calling scripts as well. And then we're typically taking a week. I don't spend more than a week. I don't waste time with them and figuring out, is this working? Is people picking up? Are they hanging up? Are they responding to it? If they're not, then we are recorrecting that immediately to try a different approach until we have the kind of approach that's working the best. Then we kind of stick with that, but obviously we change as we go. We start to book in meetings. We sometimes have the calls for the clients and help them close the leads and follow up with them to the contract is closed. And then we also do upselling for existing clients they're having, or if, for example, another client I had in the hotel sector, they had a lot of cold leads years back that have showed interest for their product. And within 3 months of doing outreach, no sales at all, no nothing, and we kind of just lost, hope that, what's going on, are we not good enough? And on month 3, we closed a 30K deal for them, and that was like a 286% return of investment that they have made in me, right? So, you just never know, but you have to just keep going with different approaches until you figure out what's working. But that's the steps to execution.
Definitely. I feel like testing quickly, failing fast so you can
Yeah.
change, pivot, things like that is definitely the way to go. Do you know what I'm saying? And pivoting after this isn't quite working, so let's pivot. Let's not change the goalpost. We're just pivoting how we're going to get to that goalpost. I feel
Exactly.
like is yeah, definitely. Is there any part of that process where you feel like it sort of gets stalled at all, or would you say that it all flows through very naturally? Would you say that you're quite hands-on in that whole process?
Process. So I oversee everything, but I have someone doing the operational work, so the outreach work, because it's repetitive tasks. But the plan on what we're going to execute and how we're going to do it, that's with me. All the meetings we're having in revenue growth, the feedback, how things are going, that's typically me as well. It a little bit depends on the task, but yeah, I oversee everything.
And do you have any AI helping you automate any of this process?
I must have, but it's just you just like going along with your day to day. I'm not using so many softwares. I think like in the whole sales process in the beginning. No, I think we are just manually sending emails out to leads, manually doing LinkedIn work. Of course, I use loads of different softwares, videos and all those kind of things and calendar and so on, but automation in the day-to-day process, no, we still do it human to human connection. That might change in the future, as I said, if I find tools that are good enough, but at this point it's still too generic for me to. It's all about how can I make them reply to my message. So I can't afford to just send out some crap that I sent to 10 other people. That's how I see it.
And when you're creating marketing campaigns, do you create like, if you need to make 10 of them to test them, for example, on which one, do you have AI help you at all with that?
Yes, I do. I
Yeah.
definitely do. I use ChatGPT a lot, but I use ChatGPT to because we write so much and we send so much outreach out. I love ChatGPT to just speak to it and for it to bring down everything I'm saying. So to structure things a little bit more, but it's still ChatGPT is still not good enough for me to just tell it what to do and then copy paste the message in. So I use it every day to kind of structure things a little bit better and streamline things, make things shorter, but yeah, still very, very connected to the individual lead, I'll say.
Definitely. Do you know with your ChatGPT, just to give you a little some things, do you have your system prompts in, master prompts in, and all of this sort of in the back end of ChatGPT?
No, and I should. Can I
Yeah.
hire you for that help? Because
Yeah,
that would be
sure.
amazing.
Yeah, no, sure. So when like how I have my ChatGPT, I have, it's like the pages of system prompts in there so it knows who I am, what I'm asking it to do. Like it might not be so good asking it, it's not trained to act on like the general questions I might use
Yeah,
ChatGPT for, but what it's trained on is my business model
yeah.
and all that type of thing. So when I ask it to write me, my rewrite my questions for my podcast and it writes it in my language. Does that make sense? And I feel
It
like the
does.
more the more training you do with these models, the more the way
Better
much
they're
much
coming.
better, yeah, man, much better results you get. on every task that you ask it for because it's already programmed in. It's got the knowledge. It knows who you are, what the task at hand is, what the aim is, what the actual goal of writing this email is for, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Definitely cool.
that's on my
Um,
list of next things to implement for sure.
yeah, no, definitely. It doesn't take that long either, honestly. By the time you
No.
write it, it really doesn't take that long. But do you have case studies, wins, or client data that could be repurposed into content that currently is sitting on the shelf? Or would you say that you are getting the most value out of that type of content and the data you've got from your clients?
Yes, I do that. I've been working with a LinkedIn expert to build my branding online, so it's part of the LinkedIn strategy we're running. So I put everything on my website, so you can see client testimonials and results I've delivered. I think in my line of industry, it's very important that you can show deliverables. So yes, I'm trying my best. Of course, I could have someone posting 3 times a day for me, but currently I'm still doing it myself and keeping it authentic.
Definitely. And also the little thing with that as well, where you have different content from different things, there's like a workflow that you could put this type of winning content that you've done a case study, and then it could go through the workflow and repurpose it into different things. So like I use this for my podcast, for example. I
Yeah.
send in the long podcast and then it clips the different parts for me,
Oh
things
wow.
like that. But that also can be used for, case studies, testimonials, things like that, to
Yes.
change them into posts, into story posts, into
Yeah.
different things like that. It's not changing the creative, it's just
Yeah.
speeding up the operations. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I
Definitely.
What kind of software is that you're using or platform?
It's just an innate workflow, but it just goes through. So it'll go like what we talked about earlier. So it'll take the idea and it goes into, say, ChatGPT, but the ChatGPT has to be trained on all your
Yeah.
processes, know exactly what it's doing, and then that will then spit it out into the next place wherever it's going, for example. So you might have it in a Google Drive folder, you might have it in, you know what I'm saying? You can have it so you have a folder there, the GPT there, and then another folder there, and you put every time you drop a piece of content into there, it'll go through there, repurpose it, and spit it out into a
Fantastic.
different format. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, the little things like that. Last little question on this middle part. A lot of agencies say they're using AI, but most are dabbling with tools instead of embedding it in a nervous system that connects workflows. I kind of feel like we've already spoke about this, but I need to
Yeah,
finish
I
it.
feel that too.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not even gonna. Well, you know where you are. I said the question is, would you say you're more here and there or fully integrated? I feel like we've already ascertained that you're a bit more here and there at the minute, and you're waiting to see and get somebody to actually tell you what this is and where this can go and etc. Things like that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for software that's or AI software that's good enough for me to implement on a daily basis. But I am keeping my pulse on it because it's not gonna last long.
100%. So let's zoom back out of your pipeline and your campaign and everything like that. So, Maria, you've led sales teams securing major contracts with household names. How have you structured and scaled those teams to stay effective at a global level?
Yes, we were a little bit around it in the beginning. But for me, it's about the procedure of what we're doing every day. I have Excel sheets, where you're putting all your measuring points in, how much you're doing of outreach, the notes that we're getting from the leads, what channels are we using, because I like to measure everything to make sure that we're getting the results that we want to. I think it's still a big task to hire, to recruit, to train, and have them in that role. But I guess it is for most companies, and that's why we have recruitment companies. But when you're a founder, it's a big chunk of money, to pay to pay 3 or 6K, to recruit one person for a team. So we in most cases still do it ourselves. But I think the most important is to find somebody that you truly believe in, and you gotta try, you gotta test, and that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. And that's team building and team keeping your team working and firing off all cylinders. I feel like it is massive when you're trying to scale and run a company as a founder, like you just said.
Yes, it is. It really is.
So, Maria, as a founder and a strategist, what's next for the business? Are you exploring products, IP, or internal systems, or do you see this staying as a consultancy-led company business?
Yes, I I would love, if it's happening within the next 12 to 18 months, I doubt it, but I would love to expand and acquiring other companies. So, integrated with marketing, because as a salesperson, I always think about the revenue potential for each client, right? So they are investing in content creators, they're investing in marketing teams as well, and it's all very related. And in reality, we should all be talking together to have the same message out. We shouldn't be different freelancers, working, because the messaging that we're using when communicating to leads versus the content creation on social media, sometimes I realize it's not aligned, and I would love to, work together as a team and make it streamlined, and it would also be much cheaper and better for the end client to do it this way instead. So I would love for it to expand into more services than just cold outreach. I do cold outreach as well. I would love to work together alongside and partner with a marketing agency that's doing more warm outreach, or it's not outreach, but do more warm lead generation. So there are areas of the sales journey and sales outreach and everything that's contributing to the growth of the revenue that I would love to combine under one roof. But I think that's maybe a couple of years ahead from now. Right now I'm just focused on growing the team, growing the company, and the bottleneck that I'm having right now is working with a lot of startups. I love working with startups, but they are often bootstrapped, or financially they need to see really fast and quick results, which are creating a lot of pressure on us as marketing and salespeople, because they have investors breathing down their neck. And so for me, the goal would definitely be in the vision to get more recurring clients in with a healthy finance, because it can be tough, and that can be one of the reasons as well that an employee is not enjoying being here, because they have a high pressure from a client that's going, you need to call more, you need to send more emails, you need to, and we're doing our best, So yeah, that's what I would say on that.
Yeah, definitely. And where do you see yourself as a founder in the next 12 to 18 months? Do you see, where do you see yourself as a founder? Where do you see you changing what you're doing and where you're trying to get to?
Yes, I definitely see myself using more AI automation. I think I think by January 26, we've already had some new solutions on the market. They've been testing so much now for the past year that they must be better at being more human connected in the way they're reaching out and personalizing each message. I think I sometimes saw an AI software as well with these videos where you can make an AI creation of yourself, and it can then look at people's LinkedIn profile, their company, and then they can make a video sent out that's personalized, but it's with you in it. Something like that would be amazing. If it's ethically correct, we can discuss that, but that would be a way to send personalized messages out. But again, how long is it going to take before the market is then going to be crowded with that, and people realize that that's AI generated? Then we need to figure out and do something new. So in my line of industry, I think we're just in constant evolvement and figuring out how to use AI as a supplement to what we're doing, and not like a substitute.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the goal is to, and I see myself using more softwares, using more AI, but also just focus on growing the company right now. That's just where I want to be, but pulling myself a little bit more away from maybe overseeing everything, and having just, right now I have an amazing person on my team that will take over from overseeing what I do. She can 100% do that. So I want to recruit more people like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like from the AI point, I feel like resistance will be futile. I don't think going
Yeah.
jumping in, and I'm not saying everybody should just be jumping in and using, because there's some tools that are not going to fit that business model. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like it takes someone to actually pull these out and show you it as a map. Do you know what I'm saying? Like why this would work, why that would work. I feel like, yeah, in the future, 100%, it could get oversaturated with different, uh, you know, like the video, things like that, different
Yeah.
outreach things. But also there is the thing in my head that goes like, will it just get to a point where everything will be like that, and that's just our new reality? Does that make sense?
I don't think anything is gonna be, this is just how it is. I think it's gonna be an ever evolvement.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I see what you're saying, 100%. But it's just going to be such a different change. Like, at the minute, everybody's still a little culturally resistant to certain things. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I spoke to somebody, James, who does sales. He does a clear sales message, and he was like, "Oh, I can't look at LinkedIn and see the big dash from ChatGPT." And I'm like, "You know this because you're a founder who's doing organic content." Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why it icks you. But you know, to the 99% of other people, they're not even seeing that same thing. So it will be interesting to see definitely what sticks, what doesn't, and how AI does get better and better at personalizing. But it does become scary when you think when it gets to a point where we won't be able to tell the difference from, what.
Reality and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's my business is AI, but it still, takes me back a little bit when I think about where the future could be because we're such at the infancy stages now. Imagine what it's going to be like, in 10, 20 years time. Imagine what it's going to be like in 3 years time, let alone 10,
oh
20 years
yeah,
time.
just yeah. Oh wow, I didn't even go there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I feel like wow, it's gonna be crazy,
I
definitely.
think there's going to be some regulations around
Yeah,
ethical, behavior
yeah,
in sales,
yeah,
marketing,
yeah.
communication. I would hope so.
And the videos, not the videos we spoke about, but I'm talking not the personalized picture videos, but also news videos, things like
Oh
that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? There needs to be a timestamp somewhere where that's where I feel like it's going to go. I spoke, my last guest said that with the blockchain. I'm not too familiar
yeah,
on like that type of thing, but he said there will have to be like timestamps to be able to show that this video is organic. And I feel like that's a good
yeah,
way to go about it
definitely.
100%.
Massive respect for the people working in that space because that is needed, really, really needed.
Yeah, definitely. Right, Maria, my last question, I asked the same question to all my guests. If you could wave a magic wand and remove one friction point, either in your business or in business in general, what would it be and why? Completely hypothetical.
In business in general, that's a very, very big question. Okay. A magic wand in my business, it would be that businesses that I work with, and in general as well, people have more patience and that we don't chase the quick results and we put a lot of pressure on each other to perform, measure everything in finances. We do sales, we do that's what we're doing, but there's so many parameters to make that work. And I unfortunately work with a lot of companies that, or have been worked with them throughout my career that expect to see results within 1 month or 1 to 2. And it's just, for some companies, I will say I just had a new client on board, and within day 4, this new wonderful employee I have on, she delivered and closed the deal on day 4. That's amazing, but it's not the rule and it's not common. So I would wish that there were some more understanding that things take time and it's worth it. And if you want to create a company, either learn how to do the things yourself or pay the proper price that it's worth it to get a specialist on board, because I feel that's sometimes what we're struggling with as freelancers.
Definitely. And I feel like what you just said, mentioned there, sometimes we can do a really good job and then that becomes the expectation then. Like you said, the rule, do you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
that's not always the case. It's not a lot of the time the case. So
Yeah.
definitely agree. I definitely agree. I feel like taking the pressure off a little bit, but like you say, it's hard when there's money involved and there's things like that. So that's why it's a
It
good
is what it
hypothetical
is,
question.
and I think when you're also just very personally involved with your clients, it means everything to me that my clients are succeeding. I don't just see them as a number and just somebody I'm cashing in money for. It really, really means a lot to me that they're succeeding. Um, yeah, that's how I do a business in a very
Yeah.
personalized way.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Maria, where can my listeners and viewers find you and connect with you online?
On my LinkedIn, that's the place that I'm active. So I'm called Maria Vang Nielsen, and my LinkedIn profile, I'm sure maybe if you put this up, maybe you'll have a link for that. There you can see tips and tricks on everything on how to close consistent 6-figure revenue contracts in your company. That's what I do. I specialize in recurring revenue. So instead of just focusing on selling one-off projects or one-off products, where I focus on how can we get the same client to buy again and again and again, relationship, so you can count on your revenue in your company.
Fantastic. So after this, we will speak, and then if you send me your LinkedIn, then I'll put it in the description.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Perfect.
Stefan.
No problem. Thank you to all my listeners. Have a great week.